Staff are ready. We've got everything organised to start the next meeting if we push. That's all right. We will begin. So this is now our ordinary council meeting for Monday, 28th of October 2024. Again, Devonport City Council acknowledges and pays respects to the Palawakakla people as the traditional and original owners of Lutruwita and continuing custodians of the land on which we gather. We also acknowledge and pay our respects to the Tasmanian Aboriginal elders past and present. We have full help of our wonderful councillors, thank you very much, and our staff. And therefore we don't have any apologies. So now item 2 is declarations of interest.
Yes, ma'am.
Councillor Moore?
I'd like to declare interest in 5.5, the review of the terms of reference. I have a daughter that has worked on one of those terms of reference for the DBR group that's included in that item. I will be staying in the room and I will be voting.
Thank you. Any other declarations of interest? Thank you. $20 if you've kept your phone. I will just again reiterate, all persons in attendance are advised that it is council policy to record council meetings in accordance with council's digital recording policy. The digital recording of this meeting will be made available to the public on council's website for a minimum period of 6 months. The meeting will also be live streamed on council's YouTube channel. And the speakers work. Item 3 is procedural 3.1 is confirmation of minutes. If I could have a mover of the recommendation, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. And seconder?
Second.
Councillor Ennis. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. Just merely procedural.
Thank you, Councillor Ennis.
Nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the councillors? No, Councillor Murphy.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3.2 is public question time. We have 3.2.1 is responses to questions raised at prior meetings. The recommendation is there. If I could have a mover, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. And a seconder?
Clear.
Sorry, Councillor Wilczynski, was that? Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yes, Mayor. All the responses are there in the report for all to see.
Thank you. Councillor Wilczynski.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the councillors? No, Councillor Murphy to close then.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 3.2.2 is questions on notice from the public, and there were none. 3.2.3 is questions without notice for the public, and if I might just add, this is the opportunity for members of the public to ask questions, of course, but I will note that in accordance with section 4A of our public question time policy, questions about planning matters listed on tonight's agenda will not be allowed. May I see if there's anybody from the gallery that would like to ask any questions? Mr. Warren?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Shane Warren, Unit 2, 134 North Fenton Street, Devonport. We want to hear those concerns and look after those people to the best of our ability. That's a quote from you, Mayor, from the ABC TV on 10th of October this year.
Yes, Mr. Warren.
Just, it's a delicious irony, really, that tonight you're discussing and adopting the community engagement strategy, and we're still waiting for a meeting with you promised back in May. Have you any comments?
Do you mean a private meeting or a meeting with
a meeting of the residents?
So we've had 2 community consultation meetings. I understand you're saying, do you mean a private meeting?
There was a special meeting promised to the actual residents affected by the proposal.
Which we're actually organising next week.
Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
Just a tad late, isn't it, after the decision's made tonight?
We wanted to open it up to all members of the public first.
Absolutely disgraceful. This sort of meeting should be conducted before decisions made, even before the application.
Thank you, Mr. Warren.
So we can both have all parties can have a proper look at what's proposed and make some informed decisions and judgments.
Thank you, Mr. Warren.
The question was, have you any comments? Are they the comments you're proposing?
In what?
Well, I want the answer. If you have any comments to that
I just said that we've got a meeting coming up.
After the decision is made.
There is a decision being made tonight. Absolutely.
So what's the point of having a meeting after the decision is made?
To discuss more matters with the residents.
Such as?
I don't know yet.
Oh,
It'll be up to the residents to bring up what questions they've got and what they want to discuss.
We'll bring up matters.
We can talk about this all night, Mr. Warren.
Well, you want to debate, Madam Mayor? I'm
No,
happy to sit
I don't want to debate tonight. You can come to the meeting if you like.
I'll be there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry, I start that.
Thank you, Mayor. My name's Douglas Janney, 23 Watkinson Street, Devonport. On the road opposite the fire and ambulance station, there are cars parked. There should be a clear way in front of the station. So the question is, when will those car plots be removed?
Yeah, we'll take it on notice if you like.
Okay. Second question.
Thank you.
Some bus stops are marked out and others are not. There is an inconsistency in the approach. When will those that are not marked be marked?
We'll give you a written response to that too. Thank you, Mr. Janney.
Next question. There are a number of trees in the open area near the old library that had been cut down. At least 2 of those trees were a substantial age. When will the trees be replaced? How many and where?
Through you, Mayor. The area where the old library is was always earmarked for development as part of Living City Master Plan, and as an offset to that, Council developed the waterfront park area, which was, as you're aware, contained a lot of buildings and an asphalt and car park, and there's certainly a large number of trees and vegetation that have gone into that area as an offset to the trees that were recently removed around the library. It is worth noting that quite a few of the trees near the old library have been relocated around various places.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Belcock.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and councillors, I note in the Advocate newspaper on Wednesday, the 23rd of October 2024, a contract has been awarded for the construction of the Devonport Oval and Sports Complex. I also note the builder said it will absolutely maintain the 60 million budget. And I stress he said absolutely. Mayor, my question then to you, Mayor and councillors, will you now prove that you are truly sincere about being a council of integrity, openness and transparency, make available an unredacted copy of the contract agreement for the Devonport Oval and Sports Complex? Hopefully, Mayor and councillors, you will be prepared to provide it so it does not necessitate the need for ratepayers to lodge right to information requests to the State Ombudsman that may require 3 years to obtain the information that should rightly be made public available. So will you ensure, Mayor, that that will be available to the public, as I believe you have the power to do so, to do so?
Yes, through you, Mayor. We'll come back to Mr. Devonport in writing for certainly some aspects of the tender process that we're probably comfortable that can now be released. And we'll make those available to Mr. Devonport.
And I'm sure we'll be a bit like uncomfortable on promises made in the past too. Thank you, Mayor. Another question, if I may.
Yes.
Mayor and councillors, I note that the recent Local Government Association Tasmania, in regards to psychosocial safety, it was decided to lobby for the state government to introduce legislation that will mandate the need to have compensation insurance or equivalent made available to councillors, and fair enough. It is well known that unsatisfactory work and environmental conditions can cause psychological problems such as anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and sleep disorders. I'm aware that council has an obligation and duty of care for staff and also, I believe, in many instances for the general public. Question: in regard to the siting of the proposed sports complex, are you satisfied that all real due consideration has been given to this project inasmuch of how it will affect the psychological safety of the residents of nearby and surrounding streets? Most I have been told, chose to live and retire in the vicinity because it was zoned open space parkland. And they are now
that
stressed
item is
out.
on the agenda for later on.
Pardon?
The precinct, the sports precinct is on the agenda later on.
But Mayor, this is the ordinary meeting, and that will be the planning authority meeting, which is two complete different meetings. And I suggest that I should be entitled to speak at this meeting, at this particular meeting. Sorry. It is a gazetted ordinary meeting, and the next one will be the planning authority meeting. And I agree with you, I can't speak then, but I'm certainly entitled to speak now for not only me, but I believe on behalf of other concerned people. So can I continue?
Bear with me, Mr. Devonport.
Pardon?
Bear with me, Mr. Devonport.
I can continue, thank you.
No, please bear with me for a moment, if I may.
Pardon?
Just give me a moment, please. No, he can't talk about gender. He's talking about social. No, I've already said it. Mr. Devonport, I did say at the beginning of the meeting today, this meeting, that the opportunity for members of the public is to ask questions, but in accordance with Section 4A of our public question time policy, questions about planning matters listed on tonight's agenda will not be allowed. I understand what you're saying. I understand you're saying it's a different subject, but you're relating it to the sports
It's a
precinct.
bit dictatorial,
No, I
isn't
understand.
it? Isn't that dictatorial?
Can I just finish my sentence, if you may, Mr. Devonport?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, if I may. So if I allow you to ask this question, it must not be about the sports precinct in its own entirety. If you're asking about what went to Lagash and what is going to the minister, I can let you ask that question.
Well, I just, if I may, I've got one line to finish to make sense of what I've said, and I continue. The open space parkland and the residents and others are now stressed out by the process already taken by you and council to develop this area. And I think you should take due consideration and due care for your residents. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. We'll get back to it in writing. Thank you. Any other questions from the public, please?
Yes,
Oh, you go.
Sorry.
did you want to go?
No, you go. Go.
Just state your name and address.
Yes, my name's Ellie Iliadis and I live at 19 Park Drive, Ambleside, so quite a distance from the proposed stadium. I just have a question. It's very simple. I just want to know that you're taking into account the interests of the wider community and not a few people for the position of the stadium, because that's a really important area.
Again,
and I want to say what I want to say. Okay. I want to say what I want to say.
We are going to be discussing the stadium later on tonight in the agenda.
Okay, so can I say something or I talk later about it?
If it's not in relation to the sports precinct, you can ask a question.
It's not the specifics, just a general comment.
Yeah, I just wanted a general comment that you're looking out for the best interests of the community and the Devonport community and the Northwest community. So I know people who take their family for walks down to that area. It's a really important area. It's really busy on a sunny day. The playground's packed. Okay, I just want to know that you're taking
Thank
into
you.
account the wider northwest coast, because I know
Understand.
people from the surrounds who go down to that area. It's not about not wanting to go to East Devonport because that's a dirty area. It's not about Formby Road, and it's about lifting up all of the northwest coast and Devonport and not putting everything in one area. And there are plenty of schools
Thank you.
near Formby Road.
No,
Thanks
I
for
understand.
taking into account the wider community, because I know a lot of people have written to you. Considering 50% of Tasmanians are functionally illiterate, I'm sure heaps of people would have loved to have been able to write a letter. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Mr. Gunn?
Thank you, Mayor. We're probably not going to get very far. These were actually clarifications regarding the sports precinct, and they really are just clarifications. They're not.
It is on the agenda tonight, Mr. Gunn.
It's on the agenda. Well, there. So really, Mayor, I mean, I think it's fair for the meeting to know what I was actually going to ask. I won't read the full questions, but I was going to ask, when did the netball actually become involved and sign on to the proposal to be wholly relocated from Merecroft Park? I was going to ask about the 20 persons per court being used in netball.
Thank you, Mr. Gunn.
being
It's on
assessed,
the agenda.
and that's about half the people that will turn up and probably 50% more vehicles.
You could have written in to us, Mr. Gunn.
Stop
harassing it, please, Mayor.
And I just want to ask whether council would agree with me that the first point of call for people attending down there will be the nearest on-street parking that they can possibly find.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mayor.
Further questions from the gallery? Thank you. 3.3 is questions on notice from councillors, which we have none. 3.4, notices of motions, we have none. Item 4 is planning authority matters. I will now announce that council intends to act as the planning authority under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 for the consideration of all reports under agenda section 4. I will note that Phil Guttrell, the planning consultant who has assessed the Devonport Oval Sports Complex, which will be item 4.2, is present at the meeting tonight. Welcome, Phil. Appreciate you being here. Given council is both the applicant and the planning authority, we made the decision to outsource the assessment to an independent consultant. 4.1 is a planning application for 46 to 48 Sunday present. All the information is there. If I could have a mover of the recommendation, please.
So moved, Mayor.
Second. Councillor Moore and Councillor Viney. Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Yes, I'd like to support the approval of the application and the grant to grant a permit for visitor accommodation. I note that there was one representation against this planning application. The representative was concerned about the noise, the possibility of parties in a larger venue, and access to the property. I also note that it's recommended from the planners that the operator includes clear notes for guests who are accessing the property to minimise the needs for cars to perform the circular motions at the end of the crescent, which was one of the main concerns of the representative. Other than that, I would definitely recommend this application.
Thank you. Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Councillor Moore's hit all of my notes as well. So just a change to the visitor accommodation in that area. It's a pretty quiet one-way, not even a cul-de-sac. So the issue I'm talking about with traffic turning, I think the people that are using that property as Airbnb, it's not going to take them long to figure out that road doesn't continue on through. I think anyone who has an Airbnb beside them probably has concerns about parties and noise. I guess the advantage of an Airbnb is that you're probably only going to get it for 1 or 2 nights, and that group would move on, or you call the police like you would for any other noise complaints. So with that in mind, noting the representation, I will also support the recommendation.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments from the councillors? Councillor Hollister.
So plans
or proposals for all the cul-de-sac to be put in that place at the end of the road there where they ended the moment. I know a lot of it in the past was engineers virtually hit development on the head, but I notice nowadays that they seem to engineer houses to be built anyway. So is there any plans at this stage for the cul-de-sac or that road to continue on further?
No, nothing there at this stage is planned.
Thank you. Further questions from the councillors? If not, I will ask Councillor Moore to close.
Consider it closed, Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 4.2, the planning application for 16 to 40 James Street, Devonport. All the information is there. A recommendation is there. If I just have a move, please.
Totally.
Councillor Hollister.
Second.
Councillor Ennis. Thank you. Councillor Hollister.
Quite happy to move this
You need to
motion.
get speaker to me on. Thank you.
Quite happy to move this motion. I believe this development will be as exciting as what the Living City has been for the last 10 years. Living City has obviously been extremely important to this city. I believe this further development with what's actually coming in the pipeline around the library site, for instance, is to be looked forward to. So I fully support this.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be supporting this. I think it's was very prudent of council to appoint an independent planner. It is one of our projects, so having someone else who come in and has looked over this very carefully. I noticed that there are quite a number of conditions that they've been placed on this application. I just think also that every opportunity that we can strengthen the bonds of the community, and there will be a whole lot of opportunity to do a lot of strength around this with lots of sporting codes involved. It is a unique opportunity that that will be looked upon by many other communities that they're amazed that we've managed to get people together to make it work. Now, I don't think it'll be easy necessarily with all the sports, but they have given a commitment that they will make an effort and that they'll work together to make it be successful. I think it'll be a really jewel in the crown of our sporting precinct around that area, and I think that in years to come, this will be one of the great parts of our city, and our community will have a lot of benefits come from this. So my support is truly behind it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments or questions from the councillors?
Yep.
Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. And thanks to the other councillors for their comments initially. I think for me personally, I don't think it's going too far to say that there's, looking through the representations, that there's some common themes with major concerns. The three that I've pulled out that I think need to be and should be looked at quite carefully are the traffic and parking, which is almost included in one, and then the potential noise and the loss of amenity due to noise in that vicinity. So there's obviously not enough off-street parking for the maximum seating capacity. That's written as 2,000 patrons, and the solution for that is that, of course, those cars will have to park in the surrounding streets. Is that appropriate? Is that acceptable? That's an open-ended question. Traffic, there'll be more traffic. I mean, there's no one around the table is going to argue there's not going to be more traffic in that area. Is it appropriate? Is it acceptable? Open-ended. Noise, I will note that really this is going to be those outside courts, the netball courts. There's mention of later games being played inside, and that main bulk building is offset further from the properties to the north of the site to minimise that impact. So that the late night noise, it's minimised as much as possible. So the noise during daytime is 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So we're talking about lots of sports coordinating. Geez, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. is a long time for all the courts to be operating outside. Is that acceptable? Is that reasonable? And that reasonable one's a tough one. As you may know, I was a health inspector in a previous life. The idea of a noise, and I've investigated noise complaints and really honed in on what is reasonable. And it's a really tough one because what's reasonable for me could be different to the next person. And what's considered reasonable, if there was never a noise, and now there is, even if that noise is reasonable to the average person, if there was never noise and now there is, it's a difficult one to get a judgment on. So with the representations, there was 31 total, 29 against and 2 for, and they are larger numbers than we would normally see in a DA. But in saying that, this is a big project. It's an important project. I must say we don't often get a lot of representations for a project, so it was really good to see that there was members of the community that took their time to offer their support and understanding of what we're trying to do in that sports precinct. So more questions than answers, I guess, in my preamble, but I do have one specific one, if I could. It's to do with the convenient walking distance for parking. I read 174 metres. I just wanted to double check that was correct and that the number of car parking spaces at that peak capacity of 2,000, which should be not that often and wouldn't overlap with other major sporting events. Is there enough off-street car parking for that maximum capacity?
Pass that on to Mr. McGrath.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm happy
you.
to take that question through you, Matt.
Thank you. Just wanted to get closer to the mic.
Sorry.
Thank you.
In terms of the walking distance to car parking, one of the considerations that we have in this project is that there needs to be reasonable access to parking associated with the stadium grandstands as well. So although there may be some parking, or is parking further to the west than the proposed facility, that's also providing for access to the existing grandstands, so it's easy for people to get to those during AFL events, for example. In terms of the 174 metre distance, that has been primarily established in the company traffic impact assessment, in which those considerations are often given careful thought in those assessments. And having looked at the application documentation and in making my assessment, given those factors, in terms of the on-site parking provision and the availability to access those spaces and walk to them, in my view, is reasonable. In terms of broader on-street parking and walking availability to those areas, certainly from my experience with facilities like this, it's often quite difficult to achieve the required on-site car parking that the planning scheme might require. And often in practice, that's why there's a lot of benefit in the traffic impact assessment and actually looking at similar uses and other activities around the area to get an idea of what the realistic sort of traffic numbers are and the demand for on-street parking. So I've reviewed that in detail, and certainly council's traffic development engineers also review that information and are comfortable that what has been provided on site and that balance with the use of on-street parking and also other council public parking facilities as well in the vicinity is reasonable to cater for the anticipated parking demand both on-site and off-site.
Yeah, thanks for the thorough answer.
Thank you. Further questions from the councillors? If not, I will ask. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wilchin.
Not really a question, just
So just need to be closer to your microphone.
Not really a question, it's just really support for both sides. There are 29 objections and they've been taken on board empathetically and respectfully considered. Now that will determine what council has got to work with. The area is zoned sporting precinct, so that's where our starting point is. The proposed Devonport Oval Complex will complement the existing well-established use of the Devonport Oval site. And as Councillor Ennis said, supporting 7 sporting bodies, which is no mean feat, that there are 7 bodies who are all in favour of the sports recreation precinct with the vision of the future of the city's sporting facility. The DA, or the development application, has been put together by Planning Tas Proprietary Limited, and the council has had an independent traffic movement parking studies commission to try and eliminate any issues or be aware of issues in those areas. The development application will enhance the wellbeing of the city. Grassroots users up to the participation through to the elite level. But getting that balance is what we've got to do. But I think it's going to be a great step forward for the Devonport City. I'll be supporting it.
Thank you. Further comments from the councillors? Councillor Murphy? Sorry, Councillor. Councillor Murphy? Councillor Murphy?
Just trying to speak.
Councillor Shane?
Excuse just letting me back. Sorry, thanks, Councillor, and thank you, Mayor. 2 members of the gallery that have expressed disappointment regarding the residents' one-on-one meeting that we've been talking about, the Mayor and I've been talking about for a while. I would note that we've had drop-in sessions where we've spoken to some residents to date, but in terms of the face-to-face meeting, that was certainly brought to me and to the Mayor. We know we haven't allowed you to express all of your concerns as a group of specific residents who live very close to the stadium, and that's quite important for us to do. Just apologise that it's after tonight's meeting. That was difficult getting the diaries to get managed, but as I said, we have had the drop-in sessions, but I'm looking forward to meeting with residents next week. Just very quickly, because I know there's other people having a chat. The issues that I considered carefully when I was reviewing this was Council's letter to the Planning Authority dated the 12th of September 24, which notes that the complex complements an existing and well-established facility, and it was designed to minimise impact to neighbouring residents through positioning the stadium complex with appropriate separation to the street. I also considered the fact that the social facilities have been located to the northern end of the precinct to avoid direct interface with residential, and that the landscaping and public walkways have been incorporated to ensure that the existing precinct is enhanced. And of course, traffic, which everyone is talking about, the consultant's report noted that parking demand for peak capacity events are likely to be the exception. So for what it's worth, they're the things that I considered relevant, and I'd like to thank all the residents for putting forward their very important views, and council staff and our consultant for preparing the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy?
Thank you, Mayor.
Considering the current climate with respect to infrastructure and ensuring that we get things right, and that is critically important. However, it is imperative and actually our responsibility as a planning authority that we make the right decision to ensure that this project will not get held up or cause any reputational damage to council. Most recently, as an example, very similar, not the same. The local our council, at a local level, council supported positively an application on the advice of our planners for a much needed supermarket. Very disappointing that hasn't gone ahead. However, once challenged, that was overturned by the TPC. Even though this won't, if it's a challenge, won't go to the TPC, it'll go to TASCO. So I have a number of questions after thoroughly reading all of the information provided to us to make a decision. I wish to make it very clear that I support this development for our city. However, I must act prudently and diligently in ensuring that this development meets the performance criteria to see it realised. It is not just our role to rubber stamp a development application, it is our role to question and ensure that the ratepayers of Devonport are not exposed to lengthy delays or challenges to its decisions. Now, I know that I sit here in isolation to my fellow councillors, but that does not diminish our collective responsibility to ensure that a proper process is undertaken, and we can't ignore facts. With respect to the traffic impact assessment report, there are a number of discrepancies that I have sent through to council officers. We received Wednesday afternoon all of the information, including the 32 representations, plus the traffic impact assessment report, plus the planning report. That was a significant amount of information to get through in that period of time, as well as understand it. And I think that's the challenge, is understanding, and in light of what's come out of tonight's meeting, the fact that there is a meeting with the residents scheduled now for next Tuesday, even adds more weight to sort of my concerns around that. Some people may see these as incidental little things, but for me, as sitting here who has to make a decision, and a significant decision on a major piece of infrastructure, is those little things need to give me the confidence in making a decision and knowing that I'm making the right decision based on the information that's been provided to me. So there was a number of things that came out, and as I said, they may seem minor, and I've received quite a significant response to a lot of them with respect to those questions. I won't necessarily go into all of the ones that I have raised, but I will discuss or ask for confirmation or clarity now that we have the author of the report here. With respect to little things, as I said, they may be little things, but I need to have confidence that the information that has been used to determine whether the acceptable solutions have been met under the performance criteria have been satisfied. Now, it's very difficult for us to sit here as councillors to make this decision when we haven't had that opportunity to discuss this in detail with the engineers who know all the data. We don't. We have to act on the information that's provided to us. You know, referencing to Byard Park as an AFL only, cricket's played in Byard Park. Reference to the Devonport Oval as the home stadium for Devonport Football Club, who's in the TSL. The TSL, Devonport Football Club has been in the TSL years. It also references a little bit later on in the report, in the traffic impact assessment, that the Devonport Football Club participates in the NTFL. It doesn't, it participates in the NWFL. So small little minor details may not seem much to some people, but to someone who's having to make a decision, those details need to give me the confidence that we're going to be making a decision on based on information that's accurate, at least factual. I noted on page 53 of the TIA that the Turning Movement Count reports notes that these are not done. The counts weren't done with soccer AFL games taking place. And the response to that one, which I think I have here, it was noted and accept that not all scheduled content is included in the TIA. We've got to consider this. One that really stuck out for me was on page 56 of the traffic impact assessment, and that was that the report stated that local AFL games commence at 1 p.m. Again, this is not correct. Local AFL games on Saturday start at 9:30 in the morning with players arriving anywhere onwards from 8:30. The other thing that it doesn't state is that AFL's played at a junior level on Sundays. Never took that into consideration. So, it was the report was silent on junior AFL games on Sundays, with games commencing at 9:30 a.m. Now, the source of that information was from the NWFL's website. So I suppose the question to the author of the report, in light of that information, would the assessment and subsequent data be correct?
Yeah, through you, Ben. The TIA provided by Big Cherry, highly reputable consulting engineers, have been provided, I suppose, stats from a number of different sporting activities that happen within that area. And then what they've done is surveyed, I suppose, the normal traffic conditions. And as you work through the TIA, it looks at the different scenarios during the peak times to determine the worst case scenario based on activities. So there's tables in there about existing sport activities for the AFL, the cricket, and the soccer, and they all occur at different times. So what they've done is modelled the worst case of background traffic, normal in the area, plus, with these activities coinciding. So as you work through the report, the worst case scenario is worked out. Whether that it might not be a Sunday, it works it out based on the AM peak and the PM peak. So
well, just on that point then, Mr. Bell-Chambers, if I may, with respect to that, the report actually refers to there's no crossover between soccer and AFL on the Saturday at peak time. That's not correct. The report actually states there is no crossover between soccer and AFL in the traffic impact assessment report at that time.
Yes.
That's the information that we have to work with. If that's what the report says, if it states that there is no crossover between soccer and AFL because of the scheduling at peak times, when we know that AFL commences at 9:30 on a Saturday morning, soccer commences at 8:30 on a Saturday morning, you've got to respect that we are lay people when it comes. I'm not an expert planner. I'm not an engineer. I don't profess to be one, but I have to act on the information that's provided to me. And when you read that information, it doesn't give me the confidence that the modelling can be accurate if the information that they're using to model that data is accurate.
Yeah. I'm just scanning away through the document. I've just come across section 2.6.6, which is traffic assignment, soccer and AFL, and it's gone through the traffic generation by the soccer and AFL games. It is quite a complex document and does cover a lot of different areas. So I'm not sure where your particular sentence has come from, but obviously another section. Yeah, it looks at that, and that may be a scenario that's taken into consideration, but may not be the worst case, which is then taken through to, I suppose.
Well, okay, so I asked the question around peak traffic flow analysis on weekends, and the response that I got was adopted peak traffic flow scenarios have been identified in the report as the weekend Saturday peaks associated with soccer and AFL. This is then modelled against the baseline survey data provided by Council and the site survey information. The data on page 61 and 62 appear to be correct. They included the included weekday text in the top left diagram seems to be incorrectly applied. As I said, it does seem to be small things, but that is the information that we have been provided to make a decision. Okay, the full modelling diagrams in section 4.1.2, page 92 onwards of the TIA, and the appendix information on page 116 reconfirm this. And that's the response from my question today. Now, there are a number of others with respect to this particular question and the comment that on page 82, Devonport Warriors time of games generally equally spread across Monday, Wednesday and Friday evenings, 3:30 to 9 p.m. My question, is this correct as the fixture for junior games commencing at 8:50 p.m. on Friday nights? I'm sorry.
Question.
Is that so? Could you please explain what generally means? If games are rostered at 10 to 9, the report says that they are generally equal, quote, generally equally spread across Monday, Wednesday and Friday evenings, 3:30 to 9 p.m. Okay, now is that start time? Is that finish time? Because on their roster, games for juniors on Friday night start at 10 to 9. But the report, the information that we've been given states that generally spread across between 3:30 and 9 p.m. So, question, what does generally mean?
You answer the question, what generally means?
Through you, Mayor, I am assuming that traffic consultants have taken that generally they are rostered between those periods. So it's without picking a specific week in a year or the like, they've taken a general approach towards applying.
That's what we wanted to
vote.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yep. So another question then, on page 84, it states that there will be 116 car parking spaces at Bio Park. However, on page 71, it states that there's 106. This is the inaccuracy of the information with respect to, and again, I know some people may say semantics, but I have to have the confidence in the information and the report that's been provided to us to make a decision is accurate, and have confidence that the modelling on that information is true and correct. So could you please clarify that for me?
Was that both on the same pages, Councillor Murphy?
No, on page 84 of the traffic impact assessment report states there's 116 car park spaces at Bio Park. However, on page 71, it states there's 106.
Thank you.
Through you, Chair. I just had a further response just to the query regarding the soccer.
Can't hear you, sorry.
You just might need to speak up a little bit, please.
Through you, Chair. I just had further information to provide around the question regarding soccer, AM soccer. In the traffic impact assessment, there is a section 2.6.3, 2.6.4, page 22, that provides some additional.
Bear with, sorry, just so I can follow along. Yeah, we've got to get this right. So that's page what? Sorry.
22.
22. Oh, so we've got two lots of pages.
56 in the agenda.
Yeah, 56, right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry about that. I've
Yeah.
just got the
No, it's confusing. Yeah, 56 in the agenda.
It's 2.6.3.
2.6.3 has reference in the TIA.
2.6.3. Yep.
All right, so 2.6.3 and 2.6.4 provide some additional analysis in TIA regarding activities undertaken around the site, including junior soccer. And then that carries over to section on the following page, page 23 of the TIA, which also provides some analysis regarding local AFL and soccer. And then under section 2.6.5, that data the TIA has then used in preparing the diagrams that we have on following pages indicating traffic movements to and from each street and junction.
Did they consider hockey being played down there in winter?
I'm not aware of any information around hockey events, whether the courts are suitable for that type of event. That would have to be.
No, there's already a hockey stadium there.
National Park.
Just a question. I think I've got to flick back between different things here because I did ask that question. Hockey and their participation has not been included in the assessment. Why? When soccer was. So that was a question that I had that I think has been answered. I'll just need to go back to that answer if I can. Soccer has been included in the modelling given the significant level of activity generation compared with other codes such as hockey and touch football. Again, interesting to note that it was an omission which I would have thought would have been included, considering that they are participants in that space and would generate some traffic flow or. And I said, I tried to have a look at the formulas, and it's very, very in detail. Like I was nearly going to have to ring my son up, who'd probably understand it more than what I would, but extremely complicated to understand how these formulas work with respect to when you live somewhere and you experience it, and you've experienced it over many years. Down there at soccer on a Saturday morning, it's extremely busy. And the report reflects to participants, and the numbers are calculated on participants, but it's forgotten grandparents that come and watch. They travel down there, or that's considered.
Any questions? All of that is considered in the TIA.
That's all considered, is it?
Yep.
Could you just explain how? So in the modelling they used, I think it was 1.5 people per vehicle. Is that correct from memory? I'm not looking at it. I'm only going off memory here. With the modelling of how many people were coming to and from soccer, with 11 players per team, I think, and only 6 players per team for the juniors.
Through you, Mayor. That's correct. The modelling is worked out, and then a formula is used based to consider grandparents, friends, all of those things.
Okay.
Have you got any other questions, Councillor?
Yeah, I'm just let me work through this. There's a lot here. And I think I've had a response to. I asked some questions with respect to. Now, this is going not into the traffic impact assessment report. I had some questions with respect to our documentation where on page 33, so this is of the development application, the report states the maximum height of 13.5 metres along the eastern elevation. However, on page 22, it states the same elevation is 14.1 metres, which is correct.
Through you, Chair. The building height has, the proposal has variations in building height. So certain elevations are built to a certain height, and then other parts of the site, depending on where the highest point is from natural ground level is taken, depends on what those differences are. So the highest point above natural ground level for the proposed development is the ladder figure referenced. And in terms of the consideration that I've given to the height of the building as it runs onto North Fenton Street, the building height there varies up to, I believe, 13.5 maximum. And that varies depending on at what point that measurement is taken along each facade of the building.
Thank you.
So that's the maximum height along those facades, is that correct?
Yes, so that's where I look at the maximum height against each facade. And as I said, that varies depending on where that measurement is taken at the relevant point of natural ground level.
Okay, so there's probably 600 on that eastern elevation. There's a difference of 600 millimeters.
Yeah, the northeastern elevation, there is a slight slope on the site that rises up. And the point is taken at the highest point of the building above natural ground level that is measured, and that's determined as the maximum height. And then in the assessment of each other elevation, you look at the heights above natural ground level along each of those respective elevations.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so in closing, at the end of the day, we have a recommendation there is to support the application, and I have been very consistent with respect to not putting ratepayers at risk if we don't. Having said that, with the council being the applicant, and in light of the information that the mayor and deputy mayor are actually meeting with residents, would it be prudent on behalf of council as to whether we defer making a decision on this tonight and bring it back to the next meeting next month? I understand there is some issues around that, but there's been quite a lot of questions. But in light of the information tonight, the fact that there is commitment to meet with the impacted residents by the mayor and deputy mayor for Tuesday, is that correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Would it not be, we could actually bring this back in a fortnight, potentially. Is that correct, Mr. General Manager?
Point of order, Madam Chair.
It'll be up to the person that moved the motion. Yes, bear with me. I'll just get some advice.
Yeah,
I move the motion.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Council Hoss.
I haven't moved to proceed the motion yet.
Just turned it off. That not.
It's through you now, just to clarify that the application is due for, timeframe runs out on the 29th, which is tomorrow, so. Short an extension from the applicant, which I know is difficult, given we're both at, so.
So
just make that point there.
So just for further clarification, so council could agree to give itself an extension, is that right, Mr. General Manager?
Yeah, through you now, applicant could make a decision to provide an extension.
Bear with me. Thank you. If you can turn that off at the moment. Councillor Murphy, are you putting up?
Yes, now I will now formally like to move a procedural motion that we defer making a decision tonight and advise that council make application to seek an extension and we bring this back as soon as possible after the meeting between yourselves, the mayor and deputy mayor with the immediately impacted residents as been alluded to tonight.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder of the procedural motion by Councillor Murphy?
Yes, I see that.
Councillor Marnie? Councillor Murphy, do you want to speak to it? Certainly.
I think it's when you must have been.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's imperative.
Sorry, through you, Mayor, procedural motion. Just.
Oh, sorry. You'll get to speak to it.
No,
sorry.
That's what I was going to point out.
Thank you. So we will have a vote to that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? We'll have a show of hands, please. Those for? Councillor Murphy, Councillor Martin. Those against? Councillor Ennis. Sorry, I'm not on. Councillor Ennis, Councillor Wilczynski, Councillor Hollister, Councillor Viney, Councillor Moore, Councillor Sheen and Councillor Jarman. It was lost. Thank you. We'll go back to the original motion. Thank you, Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And any further comments or thank you, Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like
Mayor, I did move a ask for a question.
Sorry, I haven't finished though. We're still open. You haven't closed.
I'm spoken for Councillor Murphy finished his speech.
The procedural motion was lost.
Yes.
So we're back to the normal motion that you put up and seconded, and Councillor Martin's having his turn to speak to it. I'll get to you if you have questions, but bear with me. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I like Councillor Murphy read with intent the information provided, even though some of it I may not understand, but certainly got a good feeling in regards to, firstly, the need for a new basketball stadium for Devonport, have experience in that and roles for the Devonport basketball committee over the years in different roles, and have background certainly in other sports, including Australian rules football, and in regards to even lobbying Gil McLaughlin personally to get a Tassie team, and a depth of knowledge behind all that. So I'm reading this traffic impact
assessment. Again, as Councillor Murphy has put out, that there are errors that I feel in this paper. But I'll try not to go into it, even though I've typed them up, because Councillor Murphy has conveyed most of them. I just note that in the executive summary, it cites it under the Devonport Sports and Infrastructure Master Plan, 2035. 2030, Devonport Council are proposing to develop netball and basketball courts, including a show stadium at Devonport Oval. But note that the master plan dated December 2021 speaks to the Devonport Oval, Devonport Rec Centre, Maidstone Park, and East Devonport Rec Centre function. East Devonport Rec Centre, Function Centre, and Geraldton Park, but doesn't mention that the Devonport Oval was considered or chosen for a high ball basketball stadium. So I note that, and it doesn't, as for model use, instead recognises East Devonport Precinct and Maidstone Park, along with the Devonport Recreation Centre site. Looking into the report, it cites the Devonport Oval Operations Size Home Stadium, Devonport Football Club, as Councillor Murphy has pointed out. Devonport Football Club in the Tasmanian State League, hasn't been in the State League since 2018, so that's 6 years ago. The existing sports activity generation 2.6.4 talks about soccer, AM peak hour, soccer for young kids. Cites a 30-minute game comprising of 2 umpires, 6 players and coach. Each game will typically include 16 people. Well, that doesn't add up. 2 umpires, 6 players and a coach adds up to 9. So I'm not quite sure about those calculations there. Soccer for older kids, 1 hour games comprises of 2 umpires, 11 players plus coach. Calculated, typically each game includes 24 people. That doesn't add up either unless they just take the 2 teams, 2 coaches. So I just query that. And as Councillor Murphy has pointed out, the inconsistencies that from reading this in a short period of time and the ability to be able to, which I didn't have unfortunately this time, to ask questions prior to the meeting, it doesn't leave much room to see that these minor points start sticking out and adding up. It's got an average of 1.5 players, umpires in each vehicle, calculating a total of 339 vehicle movements. There's no mention of grandparents or anything like that, and 1.5 people per car. I start to wonder that in regards to having carded players and friends and family around to events, sporting events, etc. there. I note that parking demand with soccer and AFL on 2.8.4, and I refer back to 0.2.6.4. Presumably you list 4 younger kids soccer occurring at once. It relates to 4 actual games. So 4 by 16 equals 64 people. Should not that now from 2.6.4 equate to 56 people without umpires. Again, presumers above should read 5 older kids soccer games included, not just 5 older kids. 5 games now at 25 people equals 124. Not 24 people as mentioned in 2.6.4, plus 5 times 25 equals 125, not 124. Should that read now, 5 by 24 people equals 120? And these are the little bits and pieces that you sort of pick up. You're trying to study and understand the context and what's being promoted to you in a short period of time. And when you start picking up these types of errors, you start to wonder the confidence that you have in the report being provided to you. And with all due respects, the general context I get of the traffic impact statement. I also query that there's no mention in this report, and it probably is, as Officer Munson has pointed out, that taking into consideration grandparents, it doesn't mention netball or basketball or AFL training nights of all ages. It doesn't mention junior inter-town competition on Sunday, and I presume it's still played, whether it be home games or away games, etc. So I wonder about that. One-off events I've got listed here: basketball, netball cancelled. Carnivals occur once a year using all courts, which I take as true. But the centre is identified as a regional centre for sporting participation in competition, as well as a destination for sporting events. Would this not increase in frequency? Traffic generation, netball, that's 4.1.1 is the item. Netball, 8 players and a coach per team plus 2 umpires does not equal 20 per court. Again, mathematically incorrect. It might be generalised, and you still might get the point, but we're reading a report to make a decision. So is that people generation figure correct? Suggests junior netball on average has more than 8 players, more than likely 10 players. And I speak with a little bit of knowledge in regards to that. Basketball, you've got 7 players and 1 coach per team plus 2 referees, which does not equate to 18 per court. So which is it? Therefore, is people generation figures correct? I've got a note here about grandparents not being taken into consideration, spectators, volunteers. I take on board Munson's comments. Peak hour of Northwest Basketball Thunder game, 700 parking spaces will be required. This is without any other activity occurring in the precinct. And I've got a dot point here, 10-year post-development, 2033. Compounding, I quote, compounding growth of 2.7% along 4-lane Basque Highway has been conservatively applied to calculate the 2023 traffic volumes. There's a bit of an inconsistency of 10 years in that comment. Should that not read 2033? So these inconsistencies start to add up in regards to the report. And how does that 2.7 along Bass Strait Highway compared to participation in a smaller area over a peak time over 10 years? I look at the parking scheme 4.2, car parking assessments. Planning scheme specifies a rate of one parking space per 5 seats. But I have mentioned back there that it was 1.5 persons per car, yet 1 parking space equals 5 seats. So I query that in regards to, is that a different mechanism at a different time of day? And it may well be, but, you know, we're not planners. Our job is to represent the community moving forward, and that's what we're elected for. So I query that, because if we're not getting that type of information back to us with an understanding, we've got to make a decision based on a lack of understanding.
So, Councillor Marcus, the question 2, did you want an answer? I'm just sorry, asking.
No, I'm just reading out what I came across in the report itself, and I took the time to type it up. And I'm missing out a few because I don't want to waste too much time. However, 1 parking space equals 5 seats. So if there's 1 car fits in a parking space, how come we're only saying 1.5 on one end, and now we're saying 5 on another end? So I'll put that to anybody that could convey that. And of my confusion with that.
For you, Chair, just in relation to the query around the parking generation rates, we have the rates that are specified in the planning scheme. And then what we often see with traffic impact assessments is the use of what they call the RTA guide on traffic generating developments. That's used in a lot of traffic impact assessments prepared, and it provides another method of calculating anticipated vehicle movements and the number of spectators and so forth for certain events across a wide range of activities. And so what I see, not being the author of TIA, but I've seen this in a lot of TIAs where this is used to try and provide a variety of, to look at different options effectively to give the broadest picture and not just rely upon a single figure that's specified in the planning scheme, but actually use other analysis to try and get to exactly what the most reasonable sort of numbers that are going to be for each type of development or use.
Yeah, but we're talking about one development. Multiple uses, I give you that, and multiple different times and sports being involved. On one hand, we've got cars arriving with 1.5 people, and now we've got cars arriving with 5 people. So, as you can see, it can be a little bit confusing to us that are not planning officers or as such other areas. A note also in that 4.2 car parking assessment, we're talking about one park space equals 5 seats. Doesn't also take into consideration the possibility of other events at the entire site, neighbouring properties, referring to on-street parking at the same time. I've got a note here, 4.6 pedestrian pathways. Paragraph after dot points mentioned, as, and I quote, as discussed in section 0 of this report. I couldn't find section 0. Should that, then you've got a note underneath that as well, that should the above standard be achieved, planning scheme requirement may be met. In our query, we've got the words should the above standard be achieved, and the requirement may be met. So it sort of doesn't give me enough solid information or conviction in the report. Again, you mentioned in your conclusion under the Devonport Sport and Recreation Master Plan 2035, must be not that master plan not having identified nor accepted by council the Devonport Oval site as a consideration for an indoor multi-purpose high-ball stadium. Conclusion mentions 10-year post-development. And I query if that's enough information moving forward. It's a $60 million project that council's undertaken. And I would imagine that the life expectancy of the asset should be looked at over a period of 50 years. Now, of course, we have the crystal ball in regards to what's going to happen possibly after 10 years, and I take that on board. But the residential growth strategy is put out by council in May 2022, quotes with the current estimated population of 25,747 people. The strategy endorses population growth targets of 30,000 by 2030, which is a 17% growth in 18 years, and 35,000 by 2040, which is a 36% growth in 18 years. And I wonder how that has implications on sport participation and traffic. And I emphasise sport participation there. Positive effect from the Jack Jumpers, the Tassie Devils, and suspect with a facility such as what we're about to undertake, possibly, netball will also increase in numbers over this period of time. So suggests a current site does not provide world growth or expansion.
So, Councillor, did you have another question? We've gone over time. I'm giving leniency. It's not a problem.
I haven't got,
Well done,
I haven't got much to go. If you don't mind. Yeah. I'll try and I'll cut a lot out, believe me.
Sorry.
Thank you, yes. Jack Jumpers, Tassie Devils, suspect that the facility netball will also increase. The current site does not provide room for growth or expansion. And as a council with a $60 million project, capacity at the moment may not be reached, but I would think that within 10 years, capacity will be right up there with all those other sports that I've already mentioned, expanding and growing, not to mention any other sports such as soccer or even touch football or even hockey as we go along. Site will reach capacity, and I'm saying within 20 years, with no room to expand courts, parking, or social areas. For me, my thinking is we need to think bigger, especially with Devonport identified as a regional centre for sporting participation and competition, as well as a destination for sporting events. And I repeat, a regional centre for sporting participation. I'll cut short. That's the point. In addition to the Sports Infrastructure Master Plan to 2020, 2035, along with other community members, I was fortunate enough to have viewed the East Devonport Group's PowerPoint presentation and in discussing opportunity, after which, just prior to a leave of absence for June 2023, I met with council conveying concerns that the East Devonport contingent had not been provided with the opportunity to present to full council, with contingent having been advised that they, with the contingent having advised.
Get back to the planning matter though, Councillor Martin. That's all right.
It is, I believe, Mayor.
Not that I believe. We're talking about this.
That's the East Devonport Group not being spoken to.
It is in one of the representations and has been part of this.
Well, I have a right to speak.
Absolutely, you've gone over time. I've been lenient, I said.
I understand that, and I've spoken to that, and I have not got much to go. And this is a point. After discussing PowerPoint presentation and discussing opportunity, after which, just prior to leave absence, met with council concerning the Devonport contingent had not been acquired with the opportunity to present to council. An undertaking was provided by the council at that stage to contact the group to look at such an opportunity. Note at this meeting there was no mention, indication, hint that the sporting infrastructure priority investment was being included in the council's June 2023 meeting. Unfortunately, then I was on leave of absence for that council meeting, unaware that the sporting infrastructure priority investment was included on the agenda as item 5.7, which was subsequently agreed to by council. This occurred without the opportunity for the full council to view or hear the East Devonport's presentation, and I think that's important and a real opportunity missed. Note council had met with East Devonport contingent prior to council meeting, conveying that the council will be included in the 26th of June agenda for decision. No work presentation from East Devonport occurred prior to council's meeting on June 23rd. I mentioned, I've got about a paragraph, thank you.
Thank you.
In regards to the work I've done with previously with council, having visited Victoria and spoke to the North Melbourne and Hawthorn football clubs, saw the Maribyrnong Sports Academy, which is in Footscray, and attended the Brisbane Money and Sport Conference representing council, exploring the opportunity to create a sports academy in Devonport, reporting back to council.
If we could get back to the planning matter, please.
I'm adding weight of the comments that I'm making that is not by somebody who hasn't got any experience. Thank you. I also created a sportation discussion page for Devonport, which is sports, tourism, and education. Through my community application of membership of the Council Sports Infrastructure Committee was unsuccessful. Sportation paper was provided for consideration but received no opportunity to present nor further expand. Experience also in securing Australian Masters games, initiate Tasmanian Masters.
Councillor Martin, we need to get back to the record.
Yes. So I come back to my final paragraph. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
We do need a high ball basketball, netball sports centre, and as soon as possible. And I'm fully supportive of such. Taking into account the points mentioned in regards to traffic impact assessment, points made by representations, and more specifically, my main point of no room for further expansion at the indicated site, I feel that I'm unable to bring myself to support this planned action. And I emphasise the point that there is no room for expansion. I'm all for sport and what it does and brings to the city. And it's certainly important. This is a $60 million project that has to go and last 50 years. And I feel that the time given and the information that's provided, there's no room for expansion to pay for that expansion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor,
I was going to move a procedural motion that we move the recommendation. I think there's been a lot of nitpicking going on, and I think
we're ready. You ready to go? I'm just getting to the point. Thank you, Councillor. I understand. Thank you. I was being
Point of order, man. With all due respect, I take offence to Councillor Hollister's assertion that you're an integrity. And I think it's been pointed out that is outside of council's convention with respect to councillors and having different opinions.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. I will just ask, is there any further questions from the councillors? Councillor Moore?
I just have a very quick comment.
Thank you.
I believe that Devonport needs this stadium. It has to be accessible so that our young people from our local high schools can walk down. We need to support our local sporting clubs and a desperate need for some upgraded facilities. I have heard from the 29 representations, and they are all very valid representations. I've also heard from Councillor Murphy. And Councillor Murphy, I think that you've had the majority of your questions answered tonight in terms of heights and traffic assessments and the complications that us as councillors don't understand when it comes to all the formulas and all the different standards by what this is being measured by. But I talk to many, many people who are desperately waiting for this stadium. And it's a super unpopular opinion in this room tonight with the gallery as it is. But you only have to go to the Twilight Carnival on Saturday night down at Sprayton in the cold to talk to all the netballers that are desperate for indoor courts in the middle of winter. You only have to go to the basketball stadium for them to desperately need the upgrades for the growth that we have in the city.
From the gallery. Thank you.
It's the wrong location.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Further comments from the council?
We're hole. We go again.
Councillor Hollister. Thank you, Mr. Warwick.
it's been said that there's no room for expansion there. Bluff Road can easily be moved, and there's a lot of
Thank you, Councillor Hollister. Any further questions or comments from the council? I will just quickly just summarise. We are very well aware that we have had representations. Whenever it comes to a planning matter, that's what we do. We put out a DA, it goes out, we have community representations allowed to come in to tell us what your thoughts are, and we do read every single one of them. We do hear you, we do understand you are here tonight for a very valid reason, and that's what we're trying to do. As a planning authority, we have to stick to the rules. Unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily make us popular people when we make decisions. Unfortunately, we have to follow rules and due process. That is part of what it is to be a councillor here. We follow an act, we take an oath, and that is what we do to the best of our abilities. No, we're not experts and we don't pretend to be. That's why we employ people like Mr. Cottrell here, or Pitt and Sherry, people that are actual experts in their field, and we pay them well to give us the best advice that we can take and then make decisions on. It's not laughable, it's actually deadly serious. And we take that seriously. It's not an easy job. That is what we do. We understand. We're not doing this to be popular. We're not doing this to platform. We're following rules under the planning authority, and it's not easy. And I know that my councillors, I don't take questions from the gallery. So I will actually say that this is a wonderful stadium. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be accessible for the high schools, for the students, and for the future. We are doing things to the best of our ability, and we will still work with the community and those residents to try to come up with the best plan possible to make it work for everyone, because it is going to be there for everybody. What I will ask now is for Councillor Hollister to close the debate. Thank you.
And I consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? I'll have a show of hands, please. Those in favour? Councillor Murphy, Councillor Ennis, Councillor Vilchinsky, Councillor Hollister, Councillor Viney, Councillor Moore, Councillor Sheen and Councillor Jarman. Those against? Councillor Martin. Thank you. It is therefore, therefore carried. Thank you very much. We're moving on to item 5, which is reports. 5.1 is the tender report contract for Tarleton Street renewal. All the information is there. If I can have a mover of the recommendation, please. Thank you, Councillor Viney, and a second.
Second.
Thanks, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. The information is there in the agenda to award the contract to Trelaw Civil Inquiry. They had the more financially.
I'll have no discussion from the gallery. If you want to have a discussion, you can go outside and do so. Thank you. We're getting on with the meeting. Sorry, Councillor Viney.
No worries, man.
Hope I didn't scare you. I was going to warn you, but I just thought stuff.
I have put my hands behind my back in case
I'm sorry, Councillor Viney. Please continue.
I just got told I had to go and had a heart check today.
Obviously, no one wanted to stick around for the tender report. It is important though.
Thank you.
That area in East Devonport, I think, is a very important area to rejuvenate, because it's going to be the first impression for many people into Devonport, into Tasmania. If there's any silver lining in the fact that we're not going to be getting ferries for probably 2 years, is it does give us as a council a hell of a lot of time to get our act together. And this is only one part of that puzzle. So we will have no excuses to not be ready, because we would have been ready as a city for next year. So I'd like to thank the Tender Planning and Evaluation Committee for their report and fully endorse it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just acknowledging that there is a bit of a cost overrun there with respect to somewhere in the vicinity of 84,000 and something odd dollars, which will be found in savings throughout some of the other projects that Mr. Bell Chambers is responsible for. He does a cracking job in that space. So, yeah, look, it's, as Councillor Viney said, much needed upgrade for that particular area of our city. So, looking forward to seeing it completed, and hopefully it's not too much of an inconvenience for residents over there.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the councillors? Councillor Ennis.
Yep, I think this is really good, and this is all part of us being prepared to make it better for our visitors.
Thank you. Further comments, questions? If not, I will ask Councillor Viney to close. Thank you.
Consider it closed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 5.2, tender report for the road sweeper replacement. Again, if I could have a mover, please, of 5.2.
So moved.
Councillor Moore, and a seconder, please.
Second.
Councillor Murphy, thank you. Councillor Moore.
Yes, happy to support this report to get a new sweeper truck. I note that the Boucher municipal had won the tender, but they gave us both the best price and the best trade-in value. I also note that this was already within the capital expenditure budget for 24-25, and with the trade-in value, we come in at a significant saving of about $100,000.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Councillor Moore made a clean sweep of that one.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the councillors? Councillor Hollister, your light's still on.
Yes, just there's going to be a bit of a review on actually what streets get swept and how often. Now in my area, there's one particular street that gets swept, I think, fairly often, and other streets that don't seem to get swept at all. So probably time for a review on.
We'll take that on notice if you like. Thank you. Thank you. Further questions? If not, I will ask Councillor Moore to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 5.3 is the Community Engagement Strategy 24 to 2028. All the information has been there. Recommendation is there. If I could have a mover, please.
I moved.
Councillor Hollister and a seconder, please.
Second.
Councillor Viney, thank you. Councillor Hollister.
All the report. It's time for a review of some of our strategies. So nothing turns it around.
Thank you. Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. This one has been put out for public consultation as well, the 28-day period. And happy to endorse it as is. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Not. Councillor Hollister to close, please.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 5.4, the Maidstone Park Controlling Authority abolishment. Recommendation is there. If I could have a mover, please.
So moved.
Councillor Murphy.
Second.
Councillor Ennis. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. This particular agenda item has been workshopped, and I think it's acknowledged that time has come on this particular authority. It makes common sense that we take this action and now sort of take nominations for the next working group for that precinct.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. I attend these meetings, and it would be remiss of me not to mention Ted, who has been an absolute ornament out there and has been the person that has been the driving force and behind the Maidstone Park Controlling Authority. And at the meeting, it was acknowledged by many of the members there that without Ted and without Ted's approval or, of this, it wouldn't have happened. So fantastic that he has managed to be involved for so long, and we would hopefully come up with something to acknowledge his great service for the community, and we'll put a bit of thought into that if it hasn't already been done. I know I've had a few ideas, and I'm sure there'll be some others, and we will continue on. Yes, with only two on put their hand up to be involved, I think it's time to move on and go to a different style to look after that area.
Thank you. Any further comments from the councillors? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I too have served on the Maidstone Park Committee twice now, and have known Ted for many, many years, various roles. Anthony in golf one year, and then he's involved with the Sprayton Football Club when I was playing out there. Ted has been the mainstay of that Maidstone Park Controlling Authority from the get-go. He has passion about that area and the growth of that area, and I've seen him fight furiously to protect the controlling authority. And it's sad that it's come to this point, like other committees, etc., that we need to look at a new format. And I concur with Jared's comments about Ted as well, and certainly would support something to recognise Ted's long service in supporting that area and the people that have played there and the people who volunteer there. It's really at Ted's heart in regards to that area and those sports, and especially the volunteers, players that are involved in those sports, which are very many, especially over the many years Ted served there. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from the councillors? No, I certainly say he's an iconic gentleman, bit of a legend in the area, and certainly, as you can see, started in 1968. He was there in 1968. So it's wonderful that we've been able to work with him in all due respect to all the legacy that he has continued there and what he has done, and he's quite content with the reasoning behind this and where it's at, and was quite happy to see it move forward into a different realm which it will do. So thank you for that, and thank you for those wonderful comments from the other councillors too. If I could ask Councillor Murphy to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 5.5 is the review of terms of reference for council working groups. So there was quite a few there, and the recommendation is there. If I could have a mover, please.
So moved.
Councillor Murphy and seconder.
Second.
Councillor Hollister. Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Thanks, Mayor. Community procedure, this one. It has to be done. Been done. So I must
Thank you.
really talk about that.
Councillor Hollister.
Yes, I'm supporting it as well. Second, can't remember if there was any mention about whether the time period needs to change. What's the election been now 4 years? Whereas it used to be every 2 years.
The terms of reference in there, you're saying.
So there's
Would you like to ask Councillor? Councillor, has answered the question. Perhaps for that.
just if there's any change in the time period.
I'll have a go at answering that through you, Mayor, but just to clarify for you, the tradition has always been that the terms of reference get reviewed and updated to come in line with the local government elections, and we just considered a good practice to continue that on at 2 years, but we would be, I guess council may consider to change that timeframe if they chose to.
Thank you. Sorry, I just threw it. Is that all right? Did you want to comment as well? Sorry, I just threw it.
No, so I just wonder if Councillor Hollister and Ms. Luntz are actually talking about the next item. I think the terms of reference have just been due for an update for those two working groups, which is this particular item.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5.5.
Yeah. Correct?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. There we go. So we'll stick to this. Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the councillors? Councillor Fine.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think it's worth noting at this time that we do appreciate all the members of the community that put their hands up to be on these various advisory groups or committees or working groups, having been part of just the Public Arts Committee. There's some really passionate people in our community in that particular space. I'm sure there's in these other ones as well. And it certainly assists with the decision making that we make around this table. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, questions? No, I certainly think of these 5 groups at least, there's some wonderful people that come into council and give us good advice because they're the experts in their field. And a big shout out to the Devonport Youth Advisory Group. Looking forward to seeing that now we've kind of changed the age group of who we can come in and talk to and ask exactly that. Let them advise us on what they would like to see in certain things that we're doing, projects or whatever we're building, whatever we're doing, what the future holds. They're going to have a say and be able to have input, which will be wonderful. So looking forward to seeing how that evolves. I will ask, therefore, Councillor Murphy to close, please.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. 5.6 is the appointment of committee bodies, authorities, panels and working groups.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Ennis. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this has just been touched on briefly already and explained, so there's not too much there to add. Welcome, Councillor or Deputy Mayor Shan, to the Financial Assisting Working Group. I know her expertise, passion and experience and understanding of process will be invaluable to that group, I imagine. And welcome Councillor Wilczynski to the GM's Performance Review Committee, and I believe exactly what I just said previously.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the councillors? Councillor Hollister, your light is still on. Did you want to ask? No? All good. All right. Thank you. If not, Councillor Murphy to
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6 is information. 6.1 is workshops and briefing sessions. Remover, please.
So moved.
And seconder, please. Councillor Viney. Councillor Murphy.
Yes, Mayor, it's just there for information as you've stated.
Thank you. Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. The workshop on the 14th was excellent, and what we covered is, as Councillor Murphy stated in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? If not, I will ask Councillor Murphy to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. 6.2, the Mayor's monthly report. If I could have a move, please.
So moved.
Councillor Viney. Seconded, please.
Second.
Councillor Ennis. Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to mix it up a little bit, obviously a huge amount of events you've attended over the last month. Which one stands out as your favourite and why?
That's so
In 20
unfair.
words or less.
Well, if I'm going to pick a council event, it's the spring fling. Because one, it was wonderful weather and so many people turned up. I don't think the staff expected that kind of turnout. And how much free stuff was on board and the lineups. And generally everyone was quite happy to line up because it was free. And the work involved from everybody, huge congratulations to everybody. So thank you for putting me on the spot. All finished? Fine. Councillor Ennis. Any comments?
No, nothing further.
Thank you. Any questions from the councillors' comments? Councillor Viney to close.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually thought you would have said the One Agency Collins 90th year anniversary event.
You've got Councillor Viney.
So unfortunately, won't get a chance to retract that and consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. 6.3 is the General Manager's report. If I could have a moment, please.
So moved.
So Murphy and a seconder.
Second.
Councillor Sheen, sorry. Councillor Murphy.
Yes, it's all there in the report, Mayor. Just briefly, I don't know whether the General Manager can or can't provide us an overview with respect to the meetings that were held with the Minister Ellis in respect to the decision, the TPC's decision to knock back the much needed supermarket at Stony Rise, and bit of an update with respect to the new regional land use strategy committee through the CCA that has been established and is being chaired by Mayor Fuller.
Through you, Mayor. Firstly, the meeting with Minister Ellis really was the first opportunity he had for us to meet, just to express our concern about the disappointment with the Stony Rise rezoning. We reached out to him in the days after the decision, and it took a little while to get in. But the encouraging point that did come out of it, we asked that if the applicant resubmitted, whether there was a avenue open to him to fast track that application. Certainly took that on board and was going to look closely at that. So that was really the main point that came out of that. The regional land use strategy, there's a feeling amongst the general managers on the coast we need to perhaps increase the importance of that strategy, try and get the Northwest one moving along a little bit quicker. And as a result of that, there's been an oversight committee set up. Most reps appointed Mayor Fuller to chair that group. And only met once at this point in time, but there'll be, I think the next meeting is in about 2 weeks' time.
Oh, good. Thank you. Councillor Viney, Councillor Sheen. It's been a long spot.
Thanks, Mayor. No, Councillor Murphy has asked the two questions that I was interested in, so all good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments from the councillors? Councillor Murphy to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you.
Consider it closed.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 6.4 is the monthly operational report. Always a good read. Recommendation is here. If I can have a move, please. Councillor Viney. Councillor Holster, you were seconded then?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Viney. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I lost the page that I saw the pictures of, but obviously we had quite a few storms last month, and there was plenty of trees down across the municipality. So I wanted to thank our works team for clearing those up. I was down in the Don Reserve over the weekend, and you can see remnants of some of those trees in the photos. You can see how much of a mess there was down there. So the fact that area is back open, and I think they got in that very quickly. So we certainly appreciate the work that team does. And I did find, mining through, a little nugget on page 102 which mentioned within the active communities, got it here, that the Mersey Bluff Playground Working Group, which I'd love to be part of, attended a site visit with the appointed design consultants place. So I was hoping that somebody would have a little bit more information on that exciting development. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Scurvy.
Through you, Mayor, yes, there's a site meeting that's been conducted with the appointed consultants. So mainly based landscape designer who specialises in playground design. The Soldiers Memorial Park in London in Hobart is actually a project that delivered. So they're very confident in their capacity. There's also been a number of key stakeholder group consultation meetings already. Our plan to launch a public consultation process this month, during November, that project to kick off the broader community engagement, which will involve engagement with schools and encourage to participate as well.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. So I did go onto their website and the work they do with their playgrounds and making use of space and aesthetics, natural aesthetics. If we can get anything like some of those projects I've delivered on, that Mersey Bluff precinct is going to look incredible. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Councillor Hollister.
It's just the bar charts and all the graphs and so forth. They're usually showing their positive nature, which is good. Some things are down a bit, but you expect that from periods of the year. The only other thing question I had was the shade class at the bluff, which has been missing for quite some time. It's still not there. So I'd like to say what's happened to it.
Oh. Mr. Bell, Chambers, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I know some is a number of options because it was heavily damaged. So I might take on notice and provide responsibility.
Thank you. All good, Councillor Hollister.
Nothing further.
Further questions, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy.
Thanks, Mayor. Sorry, it's just the thing I can't get rid of. Ladies first, but anyway. Just clarification again. Did we have 12,130 stadium users?
I don't know why you're looking at me.
Oh, Mr. Scurvy. Is that for the year? Because the recreation centre user numbers, the squash centres had 3,589. The stadium had 12,130. The youth centre had 7,900, and table tennis had 2,164. Is that an annual running one, or is that just for the month?
Through you, Mayor, they're the monthly stats off the door counters.
Wow. They're big numbers. Excuse me. I won't say anything about anything else.
Thank you. Councillor Shane.
Thank you, Mayor. Just coming into the warmer months with swimming at the bluff, I was just wanting to get an update on the sauna that council approved 5 months ago. How's all that going?
Through you, Mayor, just it's been a slow process working through with Crown Land. The lease has been executed, and we're just currently working through the works permit that they need to obtain from the Crown. So once they get that, I think they're right to go. It's been in regular discussion with Brad from Scion. Okay.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Do we have a target date? Is it this year?
We'd hope so. Those Crown Land work permits normally take some time, but we're hopeful that we're getting towards the end.
I'm sure the relevant minister would give it a
right.
favourable looking. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, questions? Councillor Ennis, sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that the work by the natural resource management groups, the Friends of the Don Reserve, the Devonport Community Land Care Group are doing a fantastic job and, planting 285 plants, with those volunteers. It is a sensational result for the community, that what they do. And kudos to them. And we all benefit from it. So thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a question?
Yes.
Councillor Hollis.
How far does Crown Land come from the Spoo to Bluff Road?
Oh.
And how hard is it to get a lease over Crown Land?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. The majority of the area around Victoria Parade is Crown Land, Bluff area, and that is currently under lease to council. In relation to the sauna development, the challenge there was there's two different types of leases. There's a public space lease and then there's a commercial lease. And what we had to do was surrender part of the public open space lease, with the area where the sound show is, and then enter into a new lease on a commercial basis with the Crown.
So I'm thinking of the Eyeball Stadium area.
That's council owned. Devonport Oval with the
But
area to the north of Bluff Road, I think he's got
parklands and stuff.
the parklands through there is
It's been brought up, tonight that there's nowhere to expand. Well, I'm saying there is.
Councillor Martin, do you have your line? Sorry.
I do. Thank you. Mayor. Just want to make a comment on the West Strait Maritime Centre's first Mariners launch. Of course, I didn't make the launch, but I had a sneak preview prior to that. And I think it's a great exhibition that shows the history of Devonport and its connection to the sea and the river, and suggested if you haven't gone that you go visit there, and certainly have a crack at the simulator, which they tell me is absolutely a wonderful piece of machinery. But it's said that if you suffer from seasickness, maybe not. So be a bit cautious to that. The expo of everything, was it?
Yeah.
Yep. Congratulations to council and the officers in that, and the 44 groups that displayed in, during that exhibition. So that's an important thing for our local community. Perhaps you find out what groups are in our community, because there's a lot that are unseen and not appreciated or known by other members of our community, and this gives them opportunity to be part of something that will promote not only their work but also the opportunity to volunteer, which, as we know, is declining steadily. So if you've got spare time in their community, certainly get in contact with the council and certainly you in the right area where we possibly give you a volunteer job. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? If not, I will ask. Councillor Evans.
Is it too late just to mention, because I was doing some planning for Christmas, and Christmas parade and carols happen to be on the same night now. So families need to be aware of that. It is a change. They usually are apart, but on the same night, so it's going to be a big day and night.
Will they on a Saturday? Thank you. Further comments, questions? If not, I will ask Councillor Finey to close the debate.
Thank you, Mayor. Just further on from Councillor Martin, there's 44 stallholders at that expo for everything. So a really worthwhile event to for people of the community to get out and have a look at what's available and be a part of Devonport. Also, just above that, we welcomed, and it's worth mentioning, another 15 new citizens to Devonport as well on the Australia Day citizenship ceremony on the 17th of September.
Certainly.
I'll end it there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 6.5 is audit panel. If I can have a mover, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy, and the seconder.
Second.
Councillor Hollister, Councillor Murphy.
The report's there for noting, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hollister.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, Councillor Murphy, close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Item 6.6 is council attendance at conference report for Councillor Martin. A mover of the recommendation. Councillor Sheehan
Second.
and Councillor Murphy.
It's a movie.
You're not getting his answer from him.
Don't get to talk to me.
I'm sure you can talk.
Walk out.
That was funny.
I was winding up too.
That's all right. Councillor Sheehan, would you like to make a comment on Councillor Martin's report?
Look, I would, Mayor, and thank you. I just was very enthusiastic about commenting on this report, so I'm really sorry that I picked you to the post. It was comprehensive, very interesting, and very relevant to your role, and I just wanted to commend you for taking the time to hear it. Nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, look, I'll reinforce what Councillor Deputy Mayor Shane just stated. But more, even probably more significant, and I hope that you will speak to it, Councillor Martin, is just the acknowledgement and congratulations on the establishment of the Parliamentary Friends of Children Literacy group with Senator Katrina Brook and Shadow Minister Angie Bell as co-chairs. That's a fairly significant achievement in the short period of time that you were there, and hopefully you'll speak to us and provide a little bit more information with respect to that. I couldn't play the video. The video attachment wouldn't play, so I would have liked to have seen that, but unfortunately that didn't play. So, yes.
Thank you. Further comments or questions from the councillors? Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Yes, the trip to Algo was very good. It's great to make that connection back with councils all around Australia and listen to them. Although I was wounded on one leg for most of the time, which I couldn't get down the stairs, so good that come to me. But having a little bit of spare time, we've been able to speak to Jason Clare, Minister for Education, and Angie Bell, the Shadow Minister for Early Childhood, whilst in Canberra, and also visiting the National Children's Centre for Literature. As you know, Devonport is a learning community, and we do a lot of work in this space, and it's unsung. But I do mention, as somebody mentioned earlier tonight, that Tasmania has an illiteracy rate of 50%. And that's really high. It hasn't changed over 30 years, I believe. Something needs to be done for that. And the work that was put into the Minister Clare and Angie Bell and Katrina Billick resulted in Parliamentary Friends of Children's Literacy being developed. It consists of 22 members and senators, which equates to 10% of the whole Parliament in Canberra. Thus is the importance of children's literacy and what it means, and the focus that we've had on read aloud to your child every day and what that means and what they can produce. And I'll just touch on this valid point that I think that at the moment we've got kids going to school who are illiterate, and there's services and valuable services which go around those children and adults as well. But if we don't do something right now, at the birth of our next generation, that problem will increase the illiteracy rate and the need for further support as the population grows. So if we don't address it now, we're going to be worse off, and it's going to cost us a hell of a lot more money, and there'll be a hell of a long road to actually get back. So that's what I'm hoping that the Parliamentary Friends of Children's Literacy will enable this to occur, and especially with the national campaign of Read Aloud to Your Child Every Day. And I suggest that you watch this space. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, questions from Councillor Ennis?
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Martin has touched on a very important point there with the with those high-powered people, with hopefully people of influence, what we have noticed over a long time that public education has been underfunded, and so with that, we're suffering all the time, and we're getting further and further behind. Now, I'm not having a crack at educators in public schools because they're doing a fantastic job, but the lack of resources and the lack of funding is abysmal, and it's been going on for far too long. That's why, that's one of the reasons why literacy rates are down. All sorts of things. So hopefully they will in the future, not too long, and we've been arguing for 30 years for this to happen, but it's still not there. So we would like all public education to be funded to the minimum resource standard. That's all we're asking. We're not asking to be above like some sectors are, but the minimum would be fantastic, and it would certainly really help public education and would help you with your goal of improving literacy.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? No, if not, councillor Sheen to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We're moving into closed session. If I could have a mover.
So moved.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy and Councillor Viney. Thank you. Councillor
New
Murphy.
procedural now.
Thank you. Councillor Viney.
Nothing to add, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Oh, any questions? Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. I'm standing up. Thank you for the.